AITA for revoking my mother-in-law's babysitting rights because she put my son in a diaper. Me 29 female and my husband 31 male have a son 3 male, and a baby girl on the way. As a baby, my son developed a severe allergy to diapers. He'd get awful rashes that took way too long to get better and nothing we did helped much. Due to that, my husband and I decided to start potty training a bit early, right before he was 18 months old. We talked to his pediatrician and relied on cloth diapers as much as we could. After a few months of that, he'd almost grown out of his allergy, but we kept going. Today, he's fully potty trained. He has some very rare accidents, but only when he tries to delay his bathroom trips for too long. When that happens, we wash him up and replace his underwear. My husband's mother was firmly against our decision to potty train our son early. She insisted that it would lead to IBS and that he should wear diapers until he was at least 3. She tried to convince us to change our minds for months, but we held our ground. In early December, I had a doctor's appointment while my husband was at work, so I left our son with my mother-in-law for a couple hours. Sometime later, she called me and said my son had a bathroom accident. He hadn't had one in months. I instructed her on how to proceed, as well as where to find the spare clothes I'd packed for him. I picked him up about an hour later. On our way home, he complained about being itchy. I didn't know why until I got him ready for bath time later that night. He was wearing a diaper. He didn't get any rashes, but the diaper was a couple sizes too small and he hadn't worn one in a long time, so I think that's where the itchiness came from. When I asked him about it, he confirmed my mother-in-law had said he was still a baby and put him in the diaper. When my husband and I confronted her about it, she defended herself by saying his accident was clear proof we'd made a mistake by potty training him early and he should go back to wearing diapers for the time being. At no point did she apologize. We decided she was forbidden from babysitting as well as spending time with our son unsupervised. She didn't think we were serious until we went to her place on Saturday. We had to go to the hospital, and rather than leaving our son with her, we took him with us. Now that she knows we're serious, she's calling us dramatic and ungrateful, as well as claiming we're alienating her from her grandchildren out of stubbornness. She maintains she was right about early potty training being a bad idea and was only trying to help us. I don't think we're in the wrong, but this does feel a bit dramatic. My brother-in-law, who was skeptical of our decision back in the day, thinks we're right to be angry, but it's still an overreaction to revoke her permission to babysit our son. AITA. Edit, I feel the need to point out the diaper was clean when I removed it. Also, my son will be 4 years old in February. Edit 2, mother-in-law is not our only babysitting option. My mom and stepdad, my sister, my brother-in-law and my best friend also babysit. Update, hey guys, thank you for your comments and reassurance. It's good to know I'm not crazy. I didn't think I'd write an update, at least not this soon, but I found out something this week that cemented things for me. Since the diaper incident happened, I'd been wondering where my mother-in-law had gotten the diaper from. When I asked her about it, she told me it was a leftover from when my son was younger. As much as I didn't think that was true, it did make some sense, and she swore by it. When I asked my son back in December, he just told me she had the diaper. After my original post, some people reached out to me with theories about that. I talked to my husband about them, and on Friday, we decided to confront his mother again. We did it over the phone, after our son went to bed. This time, she decided she wanted to come clean. Her exact words. She admitted the diaper wasn't a leftover, but rather a new one she bought right after my son's accident. To clarify, rather than obey my instructions and change my son into his spare clothes, my mother-in-law left him alone in her bathtub while she went to the pharmacy near her house and bought diapers. She left my 3-year-old alone in her house for 10 whole minutes because she wanted to prove a point. She claimed what she did was fine because the bathtub was empty and she'd locked the bathroom door. She also said my son was crying when she got home, and she comforted him by saying it would make me and my husband happy to see him in a diaper. And then she had the nerve to say it was good to get this off her chest, and that we could finally move on from this. Needless to say, the word outrage doesn't even begin to cover how we're feeling. My husband yelled at her for over half an hour before hanging up the phone. My husband and I talked to our son about it, and he said he didn't tell us anything because he didn't want us to be mad at him. We managed to reassure him he'd done nothing wrong. We promised he's a big boy and he'll never wear a diaper again. My mother-in-law called us several times over the weekend. She gave us dozens of excuses, ranging from I couldn't find his underwear. I clearly remember her announcing she had it when she called me that day to I left my sons home alone all the time when they were younger. My husband had no idea. We lost whatever patience we had yesterday. We decided she won't be allowed near our family for the next 6 months. If she doesn't improve her behavior until then, that will become permanent. She's also uninvited from our son's 4th birthday party next month, and won't be allowed to see our daughter at the hospital when she's born. I'm due in May. We sent her a text with the above before blocking her. That was all yesterday, so we'll see how it goes from here. Even if she does change, she'll never be allowed to babysit our kids again. We have other people who can take care of them on occasion. Yes, I know it takes a village. It also takes population control. Again, thank you all. I'll let you know if anything happens. Story 2. My mum is insistent that I have a C-section so that she and my dad can schedule their visit for the birth of my daughter. I don't know where to begin. I just need a place to vent. I, 31 female, am due to have my first baby in just over 5 weeks' time. My pregnancy was a surprise and it's been a difficult 8 months thus far. Although low risk, I've experienced every symptom you can imagine, from intense morning sickness to migraines and carpal tunnel syndrome. I've also faced some pretty intense discrimination at work despite maintaining a high rate of performance throughout the year. All of this to say, it's been a rough year. I've had little support from my family this year and their nonsense has seemingly known no bounds. Since around May, they've been asking my partner and I to make the 10-hour drive interstate for Christmas so that we could spend it with them. This would be fine, but my doctor has repeatedly told me not to do this as I'll be 36 weeks at that point and prone to blood clots. Despite this, they've continued to pester my partner and I about it. At one point they proposed coming to us for Christmas, but then swiftly shut down their own idea when they immediately realized it would be an inconvenience to them. Recently, my dad was diagnosed with some health problems of his own which he's been told is completely treatable with surgery and some medication. Regardless, I have called every other day to check up on him and to see how he's going. In the last few weeks, my mum has started telling me how awful birth was for her and every other woman on both sides of my family. I kid you not, every time she calls, she encourages me to plan a C-section and drops some new detail about a relative who had a traumatic birth experience. I have told her that her comments are unhelpful and she's known for months that I don't want a C-section if I can help it. She constantly says things like if I had my time again, I'd plan a C-section as if it's an easier option. I wondered why she started down this path until she started making comments about Dad's treatment plan and appointments such as we might be able to make it out to see you for a few days in January, but Dad might have to go to an appointment on the 18th and then again on the 31st and then after that we can't visit for a while because Dad might need a surgery. I snapped and told her that I would not and could not plan the birth of my child around their schedule and that they shouldn't bother coming. They haven't even asked my partner or I if we even want extended family present directly after birth. We don't. I was so scared about the birth and was starting to feel somewhat comfortable with the idea of it all when my mum started making these comments. Every time I've told her that I'm upset about their comments or their lack of normal, healthy support, my mum has told me that I'm just hormonal and that everyone else has their own thing going on. I'm so sick of their S and ready to cut them off for some time. I feel like they've made the birth of my little girl all about them. They've compared the potential surgery my dad might need to my birth, talking about catheters and IV drips like I won't need a similar setup, particularly if I go down the C-section route. When they did come to visit earlier in the year, they made comments about what I was eating. I was 24 weeks pregnant at that point. One of my unhealthy options was a few chocolates after dinner. I don't even know what to say or do. All of this has made me reflect on my childhood and I can't help but feel sad about that too. I've spent the last few weeks just crying about it all and I'm so tired of venting about it to my partner. Thanks for reading. If you've come this far, I just needed to vent.